Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting episode of Attack Productions. Today I'm back up being joined once again by, today is Trevor and Jimmy.
Hello!
Holy shit, what was that? Hello? Sounded like Santa Claus. What the huh?
Oh, mother...
There's a bleep. Today's matchup is me versus Trevor. I'm bringing back Grand Priest, while Trevor's bringing Champa today. So, like always, just buttons up below, but let's get into this matchup. We talked about Grand Priest a little bit earlier this week with me and Jimmy's matchup. So, Trevor, tell us about Champa.
Yeah, so Champa is a character that, I like their universe from, the lore perspective, so that's why I decided I would kind of pick it up after also kind of transitioning to green, buying some green staples last set with green Boo, so it just kind of seemed natural to give it a shot. It was either this or Beerus, but another guy at the shop, Nick, is going to be playing Beerus, so I didn't want to play it if he's going to be featuring it on the channel at some point, so went with Champa. Tested it a long time ago, thought it was terrible. Made some changes, tested it out again. Is playable. I would definitely never suggest anybody take this to a regional, at least not my build. Maybe somebody much smarter than me will figure out a build that's, meta playable, but I don't think it's the better of the two green. I think Beerus is probably better than Champa. More reliably awakened since it's at 4 instead of 5, and awaken at 3 as opposed to 2. Just alone makes it more reliable. But it's a lot of fun. It allows you to play some of the hit cards a little bit more easily than you would in, say, Beerus, and they've got a lot of power behind them.
And Champa's ability, it allowed you to put the 2-drop on the board at the very beginning, right?
Yeah, so it's an activate main, so you can do it on turn 1. It's because you don't have to swing. You just turn your card sideways, which is nice, but also kind of sucks because now you're losing a leader swing each turn, especially because this leader is literally 15k as opposed to the standard 10-15. It's 15-20. But, gotta keep it from being a little bit too powerful between free play and power. So, but the Kaba on board is literally the linchpin of the deck. If you don't see this card, you're probably gonna have a bad time. I didn't see Planet here early, which is typically what you want to see turn 1, or Whis or Ref to play it. But I would much rather have Kaba and not have Planet than have Planet and not have Kaba.
It almost feels like Bandai was so scared of making these green archetypes too good. Which is weird because they gave green all of these fantastic pieces, but they just can't give green a good archetype. A good green card deck is insanely powerful. And we've seen that across, starter Broly, set 1 Broly, Cell Surge to an extent. When you just play the staples of green, the deck is damn near unstoppable in some cases, but all of the green archetypes are just so weak. We get a lot of comments talking about, hey, you probably should, stop hating on green so much. Green's bad, but it's if you really break it down, green has some broke-ass cards.
And I will point out, a lot of the green hate comes from, we never really truly clarify this, best of 1 hand control.
Yeah, best of 1 hand control is where it stems from.
But now with the new Bandai ruling that they want to start testing, that could definitely change the way that's being perceived.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you do a sideboard before the match, oh, okay, that looks like a hand control leader. Hopefully I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another issue with green, realistically, is the fact that if you play a green deck and it requires a lot of the archetype to run, such as Champa or Beerus, it's harder to squeeze in those good green cards because let the leader's benefits shine, you have to use the archetype.
Mm-hmm.
This deck would not be good without the archetype.
And he specifies Universe 2, right? Not Alien?
Universe 6.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I don't know why I said 2, but yeah, Universe 6. because
Yep.
beforehand, the Universe 6 cards were considered aliens.
Hmm. Yeah, I believe he specifies Universe 6.
Yeah.
I don't even think the new Universe 6 cards have the alien tag. I could be completely wrong about that, but not exactly sure. But I do agree with Trevor. I think this deck is really fun. It's a fun gimmicky deck that might be able to steal a couple games, but not every archetype or leader in the game has to be incredibly broken. And if you're playing kind of in the realm that we do, where we really focus on like competitive side and we get pretty competitive at our locals, usually decks like this fly under the radar and nobody ever touches them. And I'm sure that happens to a lot of players. But it's really fun to see players pick these up and play them, especially if they take the time to get good with them.
So, real quick, this particular God card, I love it and I hate it. It's one of the few that have a 5k combo, and where Champa's naturally now a 20k battle card, attacker. It wasn't enough to stop the attack, and because most of this deck requires at least 1 to 2 energy just to combo a card, I had to take that damage, which is fine. I'm at 4 life now. Super combos are viable for me, but its activate main is so good. I think it's worth taking that damage to go down to 4 anyways. Activate main just to switch it to rest mode to draw a card.
Oh, absolutely. It's a... Anytime I saw that card in our 2 matches that we played this night, I was like, gotta get rid of it. After the first match, I was like, he got way too much value out of this. It's the first thing that's going to go off the board once I see it hit. Because if you let that stick on board, you just draw a massive number of cards.
Yeah. And, with the ability of the leader activate battle, which draws you a card naturally, and then using spectate your opponent's turn, that's 2 draws in your turn, 1 draw in your opponent's turn. And here you, having Nameless Planet, you're able to switch the target of my... What's I thought you did? You comboed out, right?
Can't remember.
Yeah, because you tapped it, which obviously changed the target. Yeah, I'm activating battle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It always throws me off when I switch to leader, and I'm like, oh, what am I doing here? Cool, so I activated battle to... but I chose not to combo. If you wanted to keep the card, you had to get rid of resources, but you wanted it to be killed.
Yeah, exactly. Not only does it protect my leader when I'm down at 2 life, but it allows me to go into, the stronger 3-drop here, which naturally has a lot of power kind of baked into it.
Yeah, which is it's a crit 20k, right?
Yeah, so it's a crit 20k. When this card attacks, KO an opponent's card. So it doesn't have to be the card that it's attacking, or if it's attacking a leader, it can KO something else on board. Does not ignore barrier. The deck really sucks against decks that have a lot of natural barrier. Like the new yellow Vegeta Trunks leader has a ton of natural barrier. So that's where I think the Beerus deck is going to be a lot stronger than the Champa deck in that sense as well, because all of their cards they play naturally have a lot of strong effects, like double strike or crit naturally without having to swing into a battle card, whereas a lot of this deck requires you to swing into battle cards to like gain the extra effects. Or at least on like all the 2-drops and 1-drops.
And for clarification, the card I played in response to it is, if I'm correct, Kusu, and that is the Universe 10, I think, God Angel card, where on play, or if you combo, your opponent has to bottom deck a card, and then if it's played, you could choose one of your opponent's battle cards and you cost 6 or less and put it bottom of their deck, so I was able to get rid of that Kaba. These hits, though, I think all of the hits have barrier, don't they?
Yes, so both 4-drop hits have barrier. This one has double strike. This is one that if you have 3 energy and no battle cards in play, you tap 2 and play it. It has on play, draw card, KO an opponent's card.
And
in hindsight, I maybe should have gone for this blocker that I didn't realize it
Luis,
blocked.
yeah.
Yeah. But, it's one of those situations where Great Priest has all these similar colored cards and not realizing that one has blocker on it.
And
But
not only that, all those god cards have so many effects just naturally on them. Like they either have an on-play or a combo effect, and then an on-play effect, and sometimes they're not the same, but they're completely different. And you just got to keep track of all of these like autos that do proc when you do stuff.
yeah. But this hit is one of the cards that I didn't really test heavily enough. I thought it was okay originally, so I had it at 2 of in my original deck list. While I was trying to kind of fit in a whole bunch of good green stuff like Rebrian and stuff like that. Then I realized that it's hard to get off those other effects, especially since this deck is not as hand control focused as, say, Beerus. Especially if you're not running the Frost engine, which Frost is cool and all, but I don't think it quite fits in this deck. Or like what you would want to do in a line of play. There's always a better option, it feels like, with Champa.
I know you were excited for the Frost stuff, and then I remember you mentioned like, it's not as good.
Yeah, I've got ideas for it. A lot of people are kind of playing around with other deck like other leaders with some of these archetypes, such as the set 6, I believe, Broly, the OG green Broly, or not OG, but the second one that came out, where when you swing, you KO one of your cards. So you like force yourself to go up the chain. So I'm kind of looking into trying to build something with that, with the Frost engine, and play like blue-green, so I have access to like Senzu Bean and stuff.
So, just want to kind of go over this interaction real quick. It took a long time to decide on comboing the second card, because I wanted Jimmy to verify real quick, because those leases don't specify a limit, don't specify once per turn, or anything like that on the card's effect, or like you can't activate this card a second time. And just being able to combo 2 of those in one attack to play 2 skillless battle cards near my opponent's turn is just really strong, I feel like.
Oh yeah, it's so strong. If you're a follower of the channel, you would know that the yellow Whis skillless archetype is just one of my all-time favorites. And that card just puts in so much work for the deck. I feel like that card can sort of like push Whis back into the top lists. And I think a lot of these god cards are going to be popping up in other multicolor lists and really rejuvenate multicolor play. I feel like they work well with Grand Priest, but I feel like once you take them out of that realm and put them into different archetypes, that's where they really shine.
And just for a quick clarification, I activate Grand Priest during my combo set, but Trevor went ahead and just adjusted the dice a week before all that went through, in case anyone was curious about that interaction. So, you were just using homicidal clones in that situation. You know, it was my last attack. Was your hand? Were you not confident in your hand to be able to protect it, the hit?
Yeah, I wasn't confident in my hand to protect the hit, as well as the stuff that's in my hand. I want to be able to play, more offensively. And with me not being very familiar with what you can do with the deck, having only played against Grand Priest once prior to this, and the like very small amount that I tested it, but my version was much different than this. So it was a lot of cards that I hadn't seen before that I would typically just charge and like my version of it and not even think twice about it. But for example, I wanted this Kabe here for allow me a wider aggression as well as removing card off your board. So if I comboed with this to survive, then it would have hurt more, obviously. So that's basically the reasoning behind clones. Plus it added a card to my hand. I think I was getting a little lower. So just kind of trying to keep up with your hand, because your hand through the entire game was absolutely massive.
So here you use the Kava's ability to pop my 2-drop Skillless, and I chose to go with the block here because I didn't want to take the crit, and I felt like you getting at least one card potential underneath Nameless Planet wouldn't be an issue. But you really went into this combo.
Yeah, I did.
And I just said no.
Yeah. Then you said heroines. I said, well, that's fine. So I spend a lot of time here trying to figure out the number of swings I have into a leader with what I have in hand versus what I have available to me. And since we had played a match prior to this, I knew you ran Heroine's Lineage, so I was now comfortable to go into this Overrealm. So one could say a past me did it as a means of bait for this lineage to come out to try and slow me down. Because having this 25k dual attack is more important than a 20k crit against a battle card. So,
and I know, like looking back in this match, I vaguely remember what was in my hand, and there were cards in there that I know I could have comboed with instead, and not spend that energy on playing that card. But I did anyways. Which is kind of weird. But using this right here, clutch of the whole game, like that, what, is it
Focus Breakthrough.
Yeah.
It's a 1-drop card that plays a 4 or less, and it's never enters play. So this is mostly a meta call. It might be 3 or less.
Yeah.
It's mostly a meta call because Mecha Frieza, any floodgate effect, Oceanus, Topo, Bupo, Mecha Frieza, all these fall into that category. And they have to actually hit the board for their effects, their floodgate effect to take place. So if Focus Breakthrough prevents it from hitting the board, you don't have to worry about the floodgate. So that's the main reason I run it. And I think it's a card that's going to see more and more play, as well as the other ones that do similar stuff, like Beerus Ball. I foresee seeing more play, especially in stuff like U7, where they might have problem against Oceanus. It's a really great option, because they never hit the board, so you don't have to worry about the floodgate problem slowing you down.
So, with that being said, read your cards, know your plays, fluff out.
Green broke his foot.